Hey, thanks for clicking on this channel. Thanks for all your views, likes, and comments. Be sure to comment about this video below. We're going to go with the third and final installment, because I only went to the first 3 years, of going back to Lollapalooza. We're going back to Lollapalooza 3 in 1993. 1993, let's set you up for the mood. Bill Clinton was sworn in as our president. At the time, he was seen as a more young, hipper president. Of course, now we just vote really old people in. NAFTA was a trade agreement between Mexico, United States, and Canada. Looking back, it did lose a lot of U.S. manufacturing jobs due to it, but we were able to get more goods in trading. We're going to lose those jobs anyway, probably to China and stuff. In America, we don't care about losing jobs as long as we get our products for really cheap. The World Trade Center would be bombed in February that year, which was huge news, and then just a few months after that, the Branch Davidians down in Waco, Texas would have their run-in with the federal agencies in April. That was a long standoff, and look back, people are still saying, well, the Branch Davidians started the fire with pouring gasoline on hay, and then when the feds went in there spraying tear gas and other things to just help unite it. Sadly, a lot of people were killed, and it was still a screwed up situation. Now that plays into hand where people aren't trusting the government and all that. Of course, we still have that today. But yeah, that'll play in hand with the youth of looking at authority. Kind of plays in the hand of what you're going to get at Lollapalooza as well. The big movie of 1993 was Jurassic Park. I would not go see it to the fall time, so at Lollapalooza, which for me happened in July, it was not a thing for me yet. The big song, everywhere you couldn't escape it, is I Will Always Love You, of course, from the movie The Bodyguard, which I'd never seen, by Whitney Houston. Originally a song by Dolly Parton, and Whitney Houston just blew the roof off of it, and you could not escape. You were going to hear that song a million times over. Like I said, this show happened in July for me of 1993. Here's some of the big songs. Runaway Train by Soul Asylum was kind of the only alternative rock song hitting the charts at that point. You had Slam by Onyx. Some of the big songs would have been Can't Help Falling in Love by UB40. Whoop, there it is. My tag team could not escape that, especially in the Chicago area, because the Bulls in 1993, with the help of Michael Jordan and John Paxton's shot, we got a three-peat. A three-peat. Everyone was going like this. A three-peat in Chicago for the Chicago Bulls and a Jordan era. The music you're hearing at Lollapalooza at that time is still a little bit alternative. These groups, of course, are getting more popular by the moment. It's changed drastically already since the first Lollapalooza in 1991, where everything was truly alternative. Now you are seeing these bands played a lot on MTV. You are seeing a lot of kids wearing their t-shirts and so on and so forth. So it's more slowly entering pop culture, you might say. As for me, I was a 22-year-old kid still. Starting off, I had my associate's degree. I went to UIC to get my bachelor's degree. At this point, I'm still trying to get that bachelor's degree. Working every evening at UPS as a package sorter and trying to fit school in when I can, and being confused about what am I going to do as an adult. Here I'm 22. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be when I'm older. Still playing in bands. The one band I was in, Oblivion, at the time, we were putting out our 7-inches, our first 2 7-inches, Product and Full Blown Grover, 1993 releases. And the other band I was in at the time, the Bowievils. We were putting out Chicago EP on Dr. Strange Records and the Ripple EP. We're actually touring off the Ripple EP, went on our first big tour, I believe in June. It was before Lollapalooza, so I'll show you a little picture of the tour there. There's me there, and also there's Joe. You may know him. He's in a band, Rise Against, a multi-platinum selling band. On that first tour of ours in '93, he was a roadie for us, the Bowievils. Now he's big and famous, and I'm doing a video in my basement of YouTube about Lollapalooza 3. Let's go to Lollapalooza 3. Drove my Ford Taurus there. Didn't go. This is the first year I didn't bring my friend John. John was doing other things. I brought my friend Therese. I got put in the friend zone pretty early with her. I was attracted to her, but no, I was in the friend zone. That's fine. We'll go as friends. So we went as friends on beautiful Saturday, July 3rd. I didn't realize this. I didn't remember this, but we actually had a few of the stops at Lollapalooza 3 had 2 days in a row where they would go. In Chicago / Tinley Park, Illinois, we had 2 stops. So we had Friday, July 2nd and Saturday, July 3rd, about the 10th show of the tour. I went Saturday, July 3rd, starting time at 2 p.m., and the ticket cost me a whopping $25.25, which 50 cents goes to charity. There's a ticket stub right there. Again, learning my lesson. I got lawn seats because I know I could probably sneak up to the seats if there's any band I really wanted to see up close, but there really wasn't. I kind of just wanted to hang out with the youth of the day. Me being a 22 to mature old adult, I wanted to hang out with the youth of the day out there in the lawn in the crazy pit. I remember driving on the way there, as almost pulling into the parking lot. Teresa was like, well, these are the bands I kind of want to see, and yeah, I'm going to go see these bands. And she's like, make sure you join up with me. We'll meet so-and-so spot, because I want you to see the band Tool. At the time, I'd only seen a few Tool stickers. They had this group logo, black and white stickers, just said Tool. I seen a few of my friends have them on the skateboard and stuff. So I kind of heard of them, but I never really heard them at that point. I'm like, sure, I'll meet up with you and we'll see this band Tool. So let's get into the arena. Of course, World Music Theater at the time it was called, in Tinley Park, Illinois. The first band on was Rage Against the Machine, and for all these bands I'm seeing today, it's the first time ever I'm seeing any of them. Actually, for Rage Against the Machine, it would be the first and only time I've ever seen them live. They are touring off of this, which they released just the year before. Rage Against the Machine. This is a great record. At that point, MTV is kind of playing a lot of Killing in the Name of, and I gotta admit, I was kind of, so at this point, this band was on a major label, which was always kind of weird. I was like, you're raging against the machine, but yet you signed to a major label, which is a corporation, and aren't corporations evil, kind of a thing. So I was like, all right, I'll still jam to them, but I'm kind of, at this point, I'm really into the local punk rock scene here in Chicago, supporting independent groups, not really into the larger bands on the major labels, kind of not watching as much MTV as I used to, trying to pull away from all that stuff and get more into the underground scene, which was great for me. There was so much good music in the underground scene, 93 in the Chicago area, and then groups coming through on tour. But anyway, I digress. They did play Killing in the Name of, and I will admit, I was in the lawn, doing my mosh pit stuff, not the crazy stuff today. You see people punching and kicking. It was just more pushing and shoving, because there's lots of people involved, and floating people up in the air and hoping that the skin girl wearing the combat boot wasn't gonna, the heel of the boot wasn't gonna come and hit your eye out. But it was more like that. I see mosh pits today. I don't sound like an old man, but I will sound like an old man. What the hell are you guys doing? Punching each other, swinging arms, and like a bunch of jackasses. Just push each other and hold each other up if you're jumping off the stage or if you're just crowd surfing. Or don't do it at all. Just be like an old man and watch and go, I remember doing that. Anyway, so we're doing Rage Against the Machine, blah, blah, blah. I do remember their show. They did a big rant about how they weren't going to sell t-shirts because the stadium was going to upcharge, which a lot of places did and still do. So you want to sell your t-shirts for $20, the stadium says, hey, we want a cut of that. So then you add the cut into the price of the shirt, and it goes up, 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 up. So they made a big stink on stage about how you will not see our t-shirts here with all the other bands because we're cool and we're not going to put up that corporate stuff, even though we signed to a major label. But anyway, the band all in all had an important message to say. It was well received at the time, and it was Raging Against the Machine. So yeah, it was a good time. The guitar player Tom Morello actually lived in Illinois, not too far from here, for a long time. After that was Babes in Toyland. I'll show a picture of them. Not familiar with them. I always confused them with L7. Babes in Toyland was a three-piece, all-female band from, I believe, Minnesota on Twin Tone Records, if I'm not mistaken. Really loud. I hate the word grungy, but I guess that kind of describes them. And I didn't own anything by them. I think MTV was maybe playing one of their songs really late in the evening time. The group had a push because they were on this Lollapalooza 3 tour. Yeah, my friend Therese loved them. She owned a t-shirt from them, so she was all excited about them. But yeah, whatever. Up next was Front 242. 90, 91, heavily I was into the Wax Trax scene here in Chicago with all the industrial bands. Of course, one of those bands, the big bands, was Front 242. So I was really excited that they were joining in on this tour here in 1993. This is their best release by far. This is Headhunter and Paradise. Hey, poor! Welcome to Paradise here. This came out in 88, I believe. Headhunter is one of the best industrial music songs ever. So I was psyched to hear them play that at Lollapalooza. Don't remember much, but just them, being behind their laptop / keyboard stuff and, just doing their thing. It's a band you want to see late at night in a really ill-lit club. You don't want to see them probably 4 o'clock at Lollapalooza in the bright sun, but it was what it was. I'm sure I had a good time grooving out to them. Front 242. So yeah, Rage Against the Machine is still a band off and on. Who knows? Babes in Toyland is no longer a band. Front 242 just called it quits recently. They are no longer a band. And let's get you caught up. At this point, I believe, is when I started to look at the concession area on my way to the side stage, which is a very small stage that was you had your main stage and your lawn, and then you run around to the corner, you got your concessions, you're overcharged for pop and t-shirts, and then in that area they had a little stage, which is the second stage. Now for the Chicago stop in 1993, Tool was still playing that little second stage. And I remember, wow, this is really crowded. Oh, it's crowded for this little second stage. As I left the main, a lot of kids did the same thing as I did. We left the main area to go check out this band Tool. Found my friend Therese. I was like, okay, here we go. And I just remember it being really low-end loud, really loud, a crazy singer. I do remember not being able to see much because it was crowd surfing galore. Like every third person was up on somebody. So the whole show, you're like this, try not to get kicked in the head. Try not to get kicked in the head. I'm trying to watch, but I'm also trying not to get kicked in the head. No, I don't want to be picked up. Nope, trying not. So it was fun stuff. Tool was packed. I remember them playing a lot of the songs because this is the album that they had out at the time, Undertow. Tool is a band that I loved when this came out. Maybe overplayed it. Maybe got too much into them. And then ever since this album, I don't know, they probably have 100 albums now. This is the only one I own. I own, a few of my friends burned some of their other albums on CD for me, so I have some burnt illegal copies on CD of some of their other albums, but to me it was I'm not into them enough that I'm going to play it a lot. So if you don't play Tool a lot, to me, they all kind of sound the same, a lot of the songs. I know Tool fans are like, what? Because they play stadiums now, they're huge, people love Tool. But I'm saying 1993, all I needed of Tool was Undertow, and it's still here in 2025. All I really need of Tool. Undertow. Great band though. And it's, yeah, I just remember just the whole low end just being really pulsing and people going apeshit crazy for this band, Tool. After that, of course, Undertow's now went triple platinum. And Tool was only a band for I think they formed 90. So this was only their third year as a band. And this is their first album. I mean, hats off, man. That is crazy. I'm in a band for a few years, and I'm putting out stuff like this that's selling 100 copies. These guys were platinum, Lollapalooza, whatever. Good for them. Good for you, Tool. After that was Arrested Development, which is a hip-hop band. I knew them. They had one album out at the time. They're still a band, I believe. Their song Tennessee and Mr. Wendell. When I went on that Boll Weevils tour, I don't know why, but Mr. Wendell, me and the singer Daryl. So yeah, this was drawings of us in 93. That's Daryl there, and that's me there. This is supposed to be us as old people. We kind of did. I don't know. I haven't lost that much hair, thankfully. But I don't know how realistic we've turned out to the drawings of what we're supposed to look like as we're older. But anyway, me and Daryl would sing Mr. Wendell all the time. Being a truck stop, grabbing drinks on the road, grabbing some food at Taco Bell, whatever, and we just cross paths with Mr. Wendell, yeah, yeah. I don't even know if that's how the song goes, but I just remember constantly singing it to Daryl and him constantly singing it back to me. Mr. Wendell, yeah, yeah. So we saw Arrested Development. Mr. Wendell was their big song. It was just kind of a band that was fun. I do remember they had 1 million people on stage. And yeah. After that was Fishbone, a band that I have seen since. This was the first time seeing them, and I just saw them at Riot Fest maybe last year or a year or two ago. Of course, Angelo Moore, classic, great frontman. They had their 4th album out at the time. They're kind of ska, they're funk, a little bit of everything. I like songs here and there by Fishbone, but yeah, I don't really own any of their things. But I do remember having a good time, and I do remember anticipating the next band, which was a loud rock and roll band called Dinosaur Jr. They had about 5 albums out at the time, '93, so they were kind of more seen as a elderly statesman in the alternative rock world. This is the only thing I have of theirs on vinyl, Dinosaur Jr. Fossils. When their stuff came out, like Green Mind and all that, I was into cassettes still, so I did have a lot of their stuff on tape at the time. Now if you try to go back and get that stuff on vinyl, it's a little bit harder to get. But this is from '91, so this was already 2 years old when it came out. It has a great cover from The Cure, Just Like Heaven. They do that, and they do Show Me a Way. It's a good album from there. I think I have 1 or 2 other their albums on CD. Of course, Jay Mascis, really loud guitar player, loud. He loves his amps loud. Guitar people loves playing. I've seen him maybe about 3 times since Lollapalooza. It's always the same thing. Really loud, almost painfully loud. They have some really great catchy songs, and just it's loud rock and roll with guitars. You gotta love that. After Dinosaur Jr., now on this tour, Lollapalooza, Primus and Alice in Chains would flip-flop, who was headlining our show on Saturday, July 3rd, 1993. Primus was going to headline, and I believe we knew that ahead of time. Alice in Chains, of course, had their second album out, Dirt. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This one's gone on, I don't know, trillion platinum since then. They had been a band for a little while there. And yeah, 1992, they released Dirt, which just went crazy. Them Bones, Rooster, of course, I believe was the single that was closest to the stop there, so they were playing a lot of Rooster on MTV. Lane Staley, the singer, I do remember him wearing, for some reason, a lot of sunscreen on his nose, and I believe a hat. And when the camera guy would get in close, we all from the lawn, even from the lawn, on the blurry kind of screens, because technology, you know, it's still not great, and it's not HD or anything. We're still like, yeah, he is drugged out. And I just remember him standing there, screaming the lyrics, and having a great voice, and not moving an inch, just singing the lyrics. The group was great, and all that. Jerry Cantrell and all that, everyone was playing great. But yeah, sadly, he would live another 8 or 9 years. And yeah, some people just can't kick the addiction, and unfortunately he wasn't ever able to. This album, I mean, one of my favorite throughout time, Dirt from Alice in Chains, is a wonderful record. Man, did they leave us with some great stuff. Alice in Chains, of course, is still a band. I've seen them twice with their new singer, and it's still a good time to go see them because the songs are just so good, and they're still putting out albums that are pretty darn good. So yeah, Alice in Chains is still a band. Now that takes me to my last band, Primus. The year before, they put out, or maybe 2 years before, they had put out Sailing the Seas of Cheese, and this came out to the scene of all of us alternative music freaks. Like I said, 91, you were still a freak if you liked alternative music. 93, you're kind of with a lot of other people that liked alternative music. But yeah, when this came out, Sailing the Seas of Cheese, all the freaks were just all about it. Jerry was a race car driver. You'd see it on MTV, but there's so many other great songs on this album. Tommy the Cat, just great stuff. For some reason, kind of like Tool, I burnt out on them. Played this a lot, played Frizzle Fry, the EP before this, a lot. And after this, they put out, what, Pork Soda? My Name is Mud. I just wasn't as into it. I was curious, you know, to see their live show. I'd never seen them before. And Primus, I've never seen after. But I always heard it. My friends went who saw them early on. They put on a great show. It's really cool. And I remember the crowd really loving it. But I was more like, all right, I just saw Alice in Chains kill it. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the few songs that I know from Seas of Cheese. I did own Pork Soda at the time too, but like I said, I just wasn't into it. But yeah, I mean, what a lineup. Rage Against the Machine, Babes in Toyland, Front 242, Tool, Arrested Development, Fishbone, Dinosaur Jr., Alice in Chains, and Primus. Primus is still a band. They just found new drummers. They should be hitting the road again. But yeah, still for me, it was my final year. I kind of knew it. And I was going to say, so long to you, alternative music. I'm going to go to the local punk rock scene and kind of delve and have my existence be part of that. I was kind of like, it was really cool seeing Lollapalooza 91, then 92, and then 93 started to be like, I didn't want to share it with the world. I didn't want every one of my friends to like the same music as I did. I didn't want MTV to be playing all the groups that I like. It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, sometimes you just kind of want. So I just went away from the more of the large label bands, all the big label bands, corporate type bands, even though they're alternative music, and it went to the more local punk rock scene, which some of those bands then would become big bands. But anyway, it was a great time. Let me know in the comments below if you went to Lollapalooza 3, or if you didn't, which band would you have loved to see back then? I'm sure a lot of you probably would say Alice in Chains, because like I said, they put on a great show. And Tool, of course, was great too. All right, thanks for watching.